job a whole lot more difficult. So hats off to them for continuing to call in and to assist us on all of our investigations when we seek assistance. They told us that they gave us a description of a couple of vehicles. They gave us the area where the incident occurred. We were able to establish that there was shots fired inside the residence on Washington Avenue. They gave us a description of the people who lived there, told us who they were. We were also given information and a tag number for the suspect vehicle, who had 3 males leave the rear of the apartment and go to the suspect vehicle. That vehicle was described as a white HHR Chevrolet product. They did give us the tag number. We also knew that the resident of that address drove a white van, so units were in several areas of the city looking for 2 different vehicles. As it turns out, the suspects did flee the rear of the residence. They jumped in that white HHR, and the victims, or all those in the apartment when the shooting occurred, ran out the front door and they got into the van. We were able to pull that van over at Buffalo and Tipton Street. So some of the calls that came out that the police had activity at Buffalo and Tipton Street, that was the victim of the shooting. Inside that van was the resident, the victim's brother, the victim's girlfriend, and the victim. The victim had a gunshot wound to his left upper leg. He was transported immediately to the Johnson City Medical Center, where he was treated and released. The other 3 people in the van were brought to the Johnson City Police Department, where they underwent some questioning. We were able to piece together what was going on and what happened. At that time, officers also were able to pull over the suspect vehicle, the white HHR. They pulled it over in the 1700 of Bell Ridge Road. It's near Park Place Apartments. There were 3 people in that HHR. They were brought to the police department and were subsequently questioned. A white female was the driver of that vehicle, and 2 black male subjects in that vehicle were brought to headquarters. The black male subjects have been identified as James Davis, 1400 Orleans Street, and Spencer Moore of 2007 East Fairview Avenue. Both of them were subsequently arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder and especially aggravated robbery. A third suspect who was at the scene of Washington Avenue and who actually fired the shots was dropped off at another location. We are still looking for him at this time. We have some good information. We've been working all night trying to locate him. We hope to have some good news really soon. As we talked to the victim, we learned that this shooting was a retaliation possibly to a shooting that occurred back on September the 8th at Orleans Terrace. Mind you, all 3 of these suspects that's charged in yesterday's incident were in the apartment that was targeted at Orleans Terrace back on September the 8th. A little bit about that case: it is still under investigation. We're continuing to talk to people. We're still receiving information from the public. As we did that night, neighbors called and were able to give us some information. Again, we can't appreciate them enough for getting involved. A little bit about that call. Officers responded on September the 8th to 1400 Orleans Street on several shots fired. We received that call from a neighbor who advised there were shots fired. Upon arrival, we were able to locate the apartment of the intended target. We recovered several pieces of evidence. We talked to a half a dozen people that night that were in that apartment. That investigation is ongoing, but we do have information that the shooting yesterday occurred as a retaliation of that initial shooting. As we get in more information on that, we will certainly release it. Has anybody got any questions?
Can you tell us the female who was driving, and is she charged with anything?
She is not charged with anything. She is a witness at this time, and we are still in communications with her, still trying to gain more information.
You said that all the people that were inside the apartment on September 8th were people inside the apartment yesterday.
No, ma'am. The 3 subjects we are charging for yesterday's shooting were also inside the apartment September the 8th.
Sorry, what can you tell us about this third person to help us help you? Can you tell us more about the person you're looking for?
Well, I can tell you, we do have an active warrant for him for attempted first-degree murder, and we have also charges of especially aggravated burglary. We can tell you that all of these people know each other. They've had previous contact with each other, whether it's a friendship or something else. That's something we just do not know at this time.
Can you release a name?
We can release a name. It's going to be Joseph Anderson. He is a black male, 24 years of age. He has a history here in Johnson City where he's used a few addresses. And he has some in surrounding agencies. Since yesterday when this took place, officers, detectives, other agencies have been actively looking for him. We have some high hopes on some information we just received, and hopefully in the next several hours we can bring this thing to a conclusion.
So he is still believed to be in the area?
Yes, sir.
And so there was just the 3 males that went into the apartment during the shooting. The female remained in the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
How come the female is not charged?
Well, she is more valuable as a witness at this time. She didn't actively participate in the crime itself, the shooting or the robbery.
What items were stolen?
We have one item. It is a liquor bottle that was taken from the residence, and they also used that to threaten the victim as well as the firearm.
Did you recover firearms?
No, we have not.
What kind of firearms? Do you know what kind they were?
We have recovered, we know the caliber of the firearm, but we're not going to release that yet. We still have high hopes of recovering that firearm.
Do you believe this to be gang related?
There's no confirmation at this time. Of course, with any investigation we do, that's always something we share with other agencies and we collect intelligence. But at this time, we don't have any confirmation that it is gang related.
Do you know if the suspects have gang affiliations?
We have not confirmed any of that information, but it is something that we're looking at.
Since the victims in this case are suspected of possibly being the shooters in the other, do you foresee charges in that shooting, or do you have to still gather additional evidence?
Well, the incident that happened yesterday certainly helped us moving forward in that previous investigation on Orleans Terrace. So we are continuing to work on that, and there's not a whole lot we want to release about that yet because it'll hurt the case.
The subject that you're actively searching for, can you talk about his priors?
I cannot talk about his priors at this time. We have, I don't have the information in front of me. We have had some contact with him at the Johnson City Police Department before.
Is this like 2 families against each other, or are they all just not related, or, I mean, it seems to be 2 groups against one?
I think it's just a bunch of friends. Maybe some he said, she said's. Who knows what that relationship is at this time. Our focus right now is locating Mr. Anderson and collecting the evidence and preserving the evidence to help prosecute the case.
Do you know what may have motivated what happened on September 8th?
We do not. That's something else that we're looking into. But we learned a lot of information yesterday.
Just to confirm, Joseph Anderson is the one who shot, not fired the shot.
He is the shooter, yes.
But we don't know the shooter from the previous one.
No, we do not.
Okay, so.
Can you kind of talk about the Seminole, or the
Sequoia
shooting?
That's something that Sergeant Mike Adams is going to talk to you guys about here briefly. Again, there's no more questions, I'd like to close by thanking you guys again for the communication you have with us on a daily basis and for being patient. We really appreciate that, and the time that you're going to find out in a minute. We had a lot of things going on. The dynamics were incredible. We had more than a dozen detectives work 16 plus hours yesterday, and less than 4 or 5 hours sleep today, and we're in here again this morning trying to serve the public and the community. I also like to thank the community for their continuous tips that they send in, the phone calls they send in. Even on Facebook, we get some good information, and we're all living in this same community, and it's a really good thing to see that the community is wanting to do something to make a change, and we're here certainly to help them. Thank you. I may have said aggravated burglary earlier. It's aggravated robbery. I may have intertwined with them a little bit, so I apologize for that.
That's good. Thanks.
The public doesn't have to.
All right, my name's Sergeant Mike Adams. I'm a sergeant over the Criminal Investigation Division here at Johnson City Police Department, and thank you all for coming today. I'm here to talk to you about the shooting that occurred yesterday evening on Sequoia Drive. Approximately 10 minutes after 6 p.m. yesterday, we received a phone call in reference to a shooting at 107 Sequoia Drive. The phone call actually came from the victim himself. So upon arrival, officers located the victim, identified as Billy Nutter, laying in the driveway of 107 Sequoia Drive, and he had a gunshot wound to the left upper chest and also a gunshot wound to his upper left arm. Also in the driveway, we located his wife, later identified as Mary Winter, and his 16-year-old juvenile daughter. Miss Winter gave a statement on the scene that she had shot her husband. She was immediately taken into custody and transported to Johnson City Police Department for questioning, and we also questioned the juvenile daughter. Mr. Nutter was transported by EMS to the Johnson City Medical Center. He is currently listed in stable condition in ICU. We believe that it's non-life threatening at this time. Ms. Winter, upon being interviewed by detectives, she gave a full confession and stated that the shooting was a result of a dispute, a domestic dispute between the two over some missing methadone. Because her methadone was missing and she suspected that her husband of taking it or hiding it, her initial intentions were to purchase a gun and threaten her husband with the gun in an attempt to retrieve her methadone, and then that resulted in the shooting. Do you have any questions?
She purchased the gun to threaten him with?
Yes.
When did she?
She listed in the affidavit, she purchased the gun earlier yesterday, and her intentions were to basically get her methadone back from her husband.
Did her husband actually take the methadone?
We believe that he did have the methadone.
Did you say why?
No, we've not had a chance to question him due to his condition.
Did all of that occur in the same day? She found her methadone missing and...
Well, we don't believe her methadone went missing, but we just know that they've been arguing over it for some time.
Did she purchase the gun legally?
We believe so.
So that would indicate she has no prior criminal record.
I don't have her criminal history with me. I would have to look into it further.
Did you say what the charges were?
She is currently charged with attempted first-degree murder. And she has a $75,000 bond.
You said that she purchased the gun to threaten him. Do you know what went wrong there? What happened?
No, I can't comment on that due to the case. It's still under investigation. investigation, but that was her own words in her statement that she gave during her confession, that was the reason for having the gun.
So they have a 16-year-old daughter, is it?
Yes.
Together they have one, so
Yes.
she's a minor, so where is she now?
I believe she's staying with family members. DCS was called and responded out last night as well, and they allowed her to stay with family.
Is there a call history for this residence, this couple?
Not that I know of, not that I'm aware of.
That's good.
Any other questions?
Anything else you want people to know?
No, again, as Sergeant Shepherd said, we would like to thank the public. We thank our, John said, police officers, both patrol and our CID for all their work. Everybody put in a large effort last night. And again, thank you all for all that you do and being patient with us. I know that I received a couple of phone calls last night too, and I had to be short because we were just so busy. So appreciate your patience.